Have you ever wondered what the next stage in guitar design evolution could be? Hi people, Daniel from Devil & Sons Guitars here. Now I'm not saying I'm working on the next stage of evolution, but as many of you know, I make guitars where the aesthetic is the key thing about them. I like the idea of a guitarist playing an instrument that represents their style and their music visually on stage. And that very much helps influence the feeling and the performance of the performer. Well, for the Great Guitar Build-Off this year, I decided to make a guitar where the visual element can change depending on the song. It would be like the paint job on the guitar can be changed at a touch of a button and even animated. But thanks to the amazing community of other guitar builders, my subscribers and people interested in the Great Guitar Build-Off, that design evolved to include a way for the guitar to act as an interface to change the sounds that your guitar is using and potentially to control an amp such as the Boss Katana series. Well, I started this process back in April when I put forward my initial design ideas, and then through a series of live streams and interactions on the comment threads, the design evolved. I've also had a whole one-day live build for the prototype for this guitar. So in this video, I'm going to quickly cover what's happened so far, where I'm at, and what my plan is for the next month before the guitar goes up for auction. Now, I thought the easiest way to do that was by taking snippets of my past videos and integrating them here. I'll put a playlist link below in the YouTube description of this video, so do check out any of the others if you're interested. But now let's have a look back at the initial design. And the main thing I'm going to build my guitar around is this, an iPad. Now I'm going to use an iPad because I like the idea that we might have a screen behind your strings as you're playing that could literally show anything on it. Maybe it's some sort of fiery background, a space theme. It could be anything. It could be a person. Yay! Now I know what you're all thinking. If the screen's there, how am I going to put the pickups on? Well, don't worry, I'm not having any pickups. Well, I'm not having any standard like humbucking or single coil magnet-based pickups. Instead, I'm going to use a piezo pickup, which works on the sound vibrations on the guitar. And that's actually going to be built into the bridge. I'm going to use a preamp. I've got a very basic one in for the prototype. It has two inputs at the back, and one of them allows you to input a piezo pickup. I've got the one it came with, which is just like a strip that goes underneath the strings. It's made for an acoustic instrument. I'm going to experiment with building that into the body under the bridge so it gets some vibrations. But I've also got a bridge which has got the pickup built in, so I don't really want to take it apart. If I just peel back a bit of the tape, you can see how the pickup's built in there. And instead of using magnetism like main pickups do, it uses the vibrations on the saddle of the strings going over them. So on the prototype, I'm going to use this going into this preamp. I'm also going to experiment on that prototyping day, the 27th of April, with somehow modding that. And hopefully by the end of that day, I'll know exactly how I'm going to have the pickup. Because like I said, I want loads of space. On my live one-day prototype build, as well as having a Tune-o-matic style bridge, I had a standard Strat type bridge as well, which was really lucky because actually that worked out to be the best solution. I could build this overhang, as you can see here, to allow the iPad to slide under, and the bridge would then hang over that without having to be drilled into the surface, potentially into where the iPad is. This meant I could anchor it at the back of the body and it would work best. And I wasn't too worried about not having my Tune-o-matic piezo in because I also had some piezo disc pickups. So here's some footage of me on that one-day prototype build, footage I haven't shown before. It's more like a stop motion of while I was working. I had a couple of cameras set up, as well as the live camera that I spoke to throughout the day. And to help with the design, I had previously done some live streams in which I discussed the comments that people had left under my initial video and had a chat with those people online who suggested more ideas. Basically on here I've got some comments and I thought some of them were really useful. So thank you everyone that's following along and liking the build, that's great. But here we've got Mark Gutierrez who suggested things about the pickup. Now, Mark suggested that maybe I could put a magnetic pickup under the fretboard, which is really interesting. So I'm going to definitely have an experiment with doing that. Also putting my piezo pickup under the fretboard as well. A few people have said, like here, Hand Tools Builds, that it would be good to have the interface from the pickup going into the iPad so you can like change this interface when you're using it. Maybe using something like an iRig. Now, I do like that idea, but I'm a bit worried that, because I want the screen behind the strings, I'm a bit worried that you're going to be really limited to what part of the iPad screen you can touch because the strings are in the way. Hey, so I'm just testing out my iPad guitar, its basic version of it, and the problems I reckon I might have had about touching the screen when I'm playing. And does that affect the playing? I put on a bit of Netflix, a documentary about Robert Johnson. It's where I got the name from, the idea of Robert Johnson, and going down to the crossroads. So sell your soul to the devil. Devil and Sons guitars. Guitars you sell your soul for. So as you can see there's no problem when I was strumming of accidentally touching the iPad, which means I could use an iRig and I could use it as the interface for the Boss Katana. I do have to thank another Daniel, one of this year's scratch build entrants. He entered with 2 guitars. He sent me this iRig that he doesn't use anymore for me to use in my build, which is brilliant. One of the things I love about this Great Guitar Build-Off is the community that's built up. At this point on my live build, I did a few experiments of where was the best place to put the piezo. Here's a few little clips from that. There's the piezo wired up. This is in position 1 on the body of the guitar. Here we've got position 2 on the headstock. This is a small piezo, I'm holding it under the fretboard. That sounds pretty crap. Now I'm going to try the small piezo on the bridge itself. So going ahead on the real one, I'm probably going to put a piezo in the body under where the iPad goes, although I might change that and still put one under the bridge, or possibly put 2 in. And then the final thing really with my prototype build was to think about what the guitar is actually going to look like, because it's not going to be this sort of plank of wood. It's going to have a guitar shape to it that the iPad slots in. So on my live stream, the last part of the live stream on that live build day, I tried out a few different guitar shapes. And I think what I've settled on is to use a Strat style shape, but maybe slightly smaller. At the time, I had a Jackson Dinky in. It seemed to fit the iPad really well. So that's probably what's going to happen. You have to stay tuned to my Instagram to see the final decision. So I think this year I'm just going to have one final build video, not put lots up as I carry on with the process. But what I will do is carry on with my Wednesday 1 PM GMT live streams, and in those live streams I'm going to be talking about my process and what's happening, try and get feedback from you. I'll be putting things up on Instagram for sure, so do look at my account for images on that. If you don't know my guitars that well, I'll leave a link in the description to a playlist of my previous builds, which will give you an idea of the sort of style that I work on. So I highly recommend you check out all the other professional builders and the invitationals. Some of the invited builders this year are from YouTube channels I've been following for ages, not necessarily guitar related, but woodworking related, and they are excellent. One thing I'd love to hear from all of you is if you've got other ideas of how I could use the iPad in the performance. Maybe it's as some sorts of interface, maybe it's as something visual, maybe there's something I've forgotten. I'm also going to leave 2 links here for you. One is to a playlist of videos from my build, so as it progresses you can see what's been going on. And another one is to last year's build. So until next time, happy strumming.